All right, here we go. You're watching NBA Now by Chat Sports. My name is Chase Senior. No matter where you're watching or how you're tuned in, thank you so much for making today's show a part of your day. And man, we are locked and loaded with an absolutely stacked show. Going to go through another NBA mock draft. I have pro comps for 30 prospects. Going to take a look at the scouting evaluations for Kai Sotto, some of the pre-draft workouts, and pose the big question, is he going to get drafted? Then we'll get to the latest on the Golden State Warriors, Philadelphia 76ers, Los Angeles Lakers, and take all of your questions. This is why they call us the Cut Daddies. NBA Finals, Game 6 going back to Boston TD Garden. The Golden State Warriors up 3-2 in the finals. Do they finish it off tomorrow night, or does Boston force a Game 7? You let me know in the comment section right now. We'll get the official show started in about 10 minutes, but now it's all about you, the homies, the viewers, the subscribers. You got the notification. Now you're piling in. Now it's time for us to give you some shout-outs here on the show to see who you like in tomorrow's game. C for the Celtics, W for the Warriors. Already 45 people watching live. Continue to hit that thumbs up icon and like the video. Chua likes the Warriors. Joseph Benoit going with the Celtics. Xavier Boys, W. Who else you got? Evan Hinders riding with Boston. Bro Football and Basketball rooting on the Golden State Warriors. Chua prediction, Golden State Warriors. I think the Warriors are going to finish off the series. I picked them in 7, but something tells me they're going to go to Boston and they're going to win another NBA championship. Speaking of the NBA championship and trophies and hardware, who should win NBA Finals MVP? Is it Steph Curry? Is it Andrew Wiggins? For me, those are the only two players you can go with. Now, obviously, if Boston comes back in a Herculean effort, maybe it'll be Jason Tatum, Jaylen Brown, or maybe even Al Horford. If he goes off once again, who should win Finals MVP? Give me a name in the comment section right now. Clayton Lockhart, what it do, Chase? I just smashed that thumbs up icon. Go Warriors. You tickled the like button, Clayton. Good job by you. Riley Billups is back. A lot of familiar faces from our watch parties. Harrison Graham will be live for a watch party tomorrow night for Game 6. Steph Curry and Jordan Poole from Aladdin. Let's go diehard faithful Golden State Warriors. Dub Nation Empire from Reen Cruz. Love it. If it's Renee Cruz, then I got you. Hopefully I pronounced the right one of the two times. Jason Tatum, Torrey James Jr. Curry if they win tomorrow night from Joseph. Klay Thompson from Evan Hinders. Andre Iguodala from T. Lee. Yeah, in 2015, not in 2022. He's barely played throughout the finals. We're going to look at another NBA mock draft, and also I have cooked up for you 30 pro comps for 30 prospects. Yeah, we were grinding and hustling all throughout the day to get this show ready for you. Speaking of the draft, though, who do you think will be taken number 1? Jabari Smith, Paolo Banchero, Chet Holmgren? Predict it for me. Diana, hey, handsome. Hey, Diana, how are you? That just gave me more excitement and more energy with that compliment right there. Not that type of excitement. Don't worry about it. Aladdin the Magic the number 1 pick. Yes. So who are they going to take? Let me know. You see the question to my right here. Rainbow Cal, Chet. Jabari Smith from Bro. Jabari from Alec G. Jabari Smith from Chua. Washington Wizards reportedly open to trading their lottery pick at number 10 in the draft. Yeah, that could happen. No doubt about it. Chase is our favorite host other than Marshall from the Rainbow Cal. Yeah, Marshall's my guy. Marshall's my homie. That's the dude right there. Finals MVP, the inanimate Carbon Rod. Moshi? Yeah, people showing love to Marshall Green in the comment section right now. I hope you show us love throughout the NBA draft. We'll be live a week from tomorrow for both rounds, talking about every single pick. Myself, Harrison Graham. Make sure you subscribe and join us on YouTube as well as Rumble. It's youtube.com/chatsportstv, or even easier for you, just hit that red subscribe button down below. A lot of movement could potentially take place in the NBA draft lottery. Some people could drop. We'll see. And no matter what happens, we're going to break it all down. Sadie's nuts. Chase is daddy. Something tells me that's Jeremy Chuggs' burner account. I need it now. I need the draft now. Daddy Chase from Sadie's. Start the coverage now from T. Lee. Don't worry, we're about to start our coverage. Daddy Chase is king. Man, people are showing me some love in the comment section. Evan Hinders getting that question ready for a mailbag. So too is Shay. Welcome back, Shay. Good to hear you. Good to hear from you. Caleb Jordan, my Heat should trade Kyle Lowry. Yeah, maybe to the Los Angeles Lakers. Pop Johnson, Chase, can you be my kid's godfather? Sure. Send me the certificate. Let me know. What will the Toronto Raptors do? Maybe trade for Rudy Gobert. Keep an eye out for that. Trade OG Anunoby. Fake Klay Thompson from Seymour Pape. He is now banned from the Chase Center in San Francisco because it got past security. We were having this debate. Is it on the lack of security from the Warriors, or is it on fake Klay Thompson? They didn't know that he wasn't Klay Thompson. That's on them. They should know. Darian Logan. Yes, Daddy Moore. This is starting to get out of hand in the comment section here. All started by Sadie. Please don't miss any of my comments from Shay. I just gave you a shout out, Shay. Let's ride. Sadie's back in the chat. Okay, we might just have to get the show started because it's starting to get a little bit weird. If you're ready for the live show to start, I want you to tickle that thumbs up icon, like the video, and show me that you're ready for the show to start. 85 people watching live right now, 23 likes. Keep in mind, NBA Draft a week from tomorrow, then NBA Free Agency 2 weeks from tomorrow. So our coverage here at Chat Sports is about to ramp up, and we are about to just cook up straight up heaters like we've been doing for a really long time. But you don't want to miss any of our coverage, so make sure you subscribe to the channel. You're ready for the show to start? Hit that thumbs up icon, like the video. Diana, you are too cute, mister. Oh, how nice. Aladdin the Magic, hit that thumbs up icon. Riley Billups, She Love K, Seymour Pape, Darian, all in the chat, rocking and rolling with us. And no matter where you are, how you're watching, as I always say, thank you for making our coverage of the NBA, NFL, college football, and whatever we do here at Chat Sports a part of your day. So coming up right around the corner, going to react to ESPN's latest mock draft. And then also, as I get my hair ready here, gonna do pro comps for all 30 players who were taken in the first round of ESPN's mock. So we're gonna get that ready for you. Shout out to everybody tuning in. T. Lee, shotgun a beer for each draft pick. Well, there will be 58 of them in the draft, and I would probably be drooling and crawling home. Sadie's, Chase Max is 375 on the bench. No, but I can run with the best of them. How's my hair looking, man? I didn't get time to really do it before the show, you know. At least, you know, I don't have the receding hairline, you know, like Stephen A or something like that. All right, ready to start the show. Hit that thumbs up icon, smash it, and let's take a look at ESPN's latest mock draft. Welcome into NBA Now by Chat Sports. My name is Chase Senior. No matter where you're watching or how you're watching, we appreciate you for making NBA Now a part of your day. On the docket for today's show, going to react to ESPN's latest first-round mock draft with a ton of movement in the first round. Then also, I put together 30 pro comps for all of these prospects selected in ESPN's mock as I continue to do my own scouting evaluations. But first, we're going to be going live right here on our main Chat Sports YouTube channel for the NBA Draft on Thursday, June 23rd. It's going to be here before we know it. Myself and Harrison Graham breaking down and reacting to every single selection over the 2 rounds. So make sure you subscribe and join us by hitting that red subscribe button down below. We start off with the top 5 from ESPN, and obviously now that Mike Schmitz is working for the Portland Trail Blazers, this coming from Jonathan Givony of ESPN. Some movement here in the top 5. Jabari Smith going number 1 to the Orlando Magic. That's the pick that I agree with. Has to work on his handle, but I love his upside. Chet Holmgren, I worry about the body, but he does have tantalizing potential, going to OKC at number 2. Paolo Banchero teaming up with Jalen Green, going to the Houston Rockets in that 3rd spot. Jaden Ivey to the Sacramento Kings at 4, and Keegan Murray to the Detroit Pistons at number 5. Here are my pro comps for all of these players. For Jabari Smith, I get shades of Michael Porter Jr., and if Michael Porter Jr. didn't have that back injury a couple years ago, he may have been the number 1 overall pick coming out of Missouri. Chet Holmgren, I get a lot of comparisons to Kristaps Porzingis. Has to work on the frame, but that slight frame does remind me of KP to a certain degree. Paolo Banchero, passing out of the high post, an array of offensive skills. Has to get better defensively. My pro comp for him is Chris Webber. For Ja Morant and Jaden Ivey, the similarities are certainly there. Jaden Ivey is a less athletic Ja Morant, but he certainly has a lot of comparisons. And for Keegan Murray, he reminds me of Al Horford, but I actually think that Keegan Murray can run the floor a little bit better. He's a better all-around offensive player and a better athlete. I'm not going to compare him to Evan Mobley, but there are some Evan Mobley comps that are ringing in my brain by watching Keegan Murray as well. About a 40% shooter from downtown. As a big man, he was asked to do everything with Iowa. He certainly did that and more. If you're excited for the 2022 NBA Draft, I am. I hope you are as well. And if that's the case, which it should be all of you watching right now, I want you to hit that thumbs up icon and like the video. Once again, make sure you subscribe. You don't want to miss our NBA Draft coverage, as myself and Harrison Graham going to be discussing every single selection of the draft, which is Thursday, June 23rd. Then keep in mind, a week after that is the start of NBA free agency. That's why you hit that red subscribe button. Pick 6 through 10, Benedict Mathurin, climbing up draft boards. I love him as a prospect, going 6 to Indiana. Shaedon Sharpe dropping a little bit, going to the Trailblazers at number 7. Dyson Daniels, the first G League player, going to the New Orleans Pelicans. They're going to need to develop him if that's the case, and if he goes to a place like New Orleans, he comes in off the bench, maybe that development will happen. Jalen Duren, uber athletic big man, going to the San Antonio Spurs at number 9, according to reports out there. They absolutely love Duren. And then Johnny Davis going to Washington. Some rumblings that Washington could trade out of number 10. We'll see what happens come draft time. Pro comps for all of those players who we just talked about. Benedict Mathurin, Karis LeVert, but I think he has more potential than him, but the body type is very similar. Dyson Daniels, Derek White, and I know that White is kind of suffering from a lack of confidence in the NBA Finals, but he's a really good player who is also a first-round pick. That's what I get from Dyson Daniels. For Shaedon Sharpe, it's Jalen Green, Bradley Beal, kind of a combination between two of them because he is a hyper scorer. Jalen Duren, Robert Williams, because he's a high flyer who doesn't really shoot the basketball at all, but can impact games with his rim protection, shot altering, pretty solid passer like Robert Williams is, and has that all-around game down low in the trenches. Johnny Davis, a scoring Jalen Suggs. He was the best scorer, in my opinion, in college basketball last year. Jalen Suggs was a good scorer at Gonzaga, showed flashes of it with the Orlando Magic, but I think Davis has better scoring potential than Jalen Suggs. Feel free to make your own pro comparisons in the comment section right now. I have 30 cooked up for you today on today's show, but if you want to get into the comment section, you want to play the scout, feel free to do that. I know a lot of people out there like to make those pro comparisons, so do that in the comment section right now. We move forward to selections 11 through 15. AJ Griffin to the New York Knicks at number 11. I think he's going to go right in this range. Ousmane Dieng going to OKC from the New Zealand Breakers at number 12. Jeremy Sohan, one of my favorite prospects in this class, to the Charlotte Hornets at number 13. If that's the case, I think he plays right away. Ochai Agbaji going to the Cleveland Cavaliers at number 14, and Mark Williams going to the Hornets once again at number 15. So with the Hornets, you get two really good players. AJ Griffin, Jimmy Butler and TJ Warren for me. Dieng, Evan Turner, but with more upside, has the length of Brandon Ingram, but I think it's disrespectful to compare him to B.I., who this past year is one of the best scorers at the NBA level. Jeremy Sohan, Ben Simmons, if he were to play the 4 spot, I also get shades of Draymond Green because he's one of those players that shows that not everything comes down to scoring, and he can impact the game in a plethora of ways. Agbaji, Jay Crowder, but more offensive potential. Jay Crowder, kind of a one-dimensional player who just chucks up a bunch of threes. Agbaji can do a little bit more than that. And then we're going to turn back the clocks for Mark Williams. I turned on the tape, and I was like, yo, that's Samuel Dalembert right there. Now, Dalembert with the Mavericks was bad. When he was a first-round pick coming out of Seton Hall for the Philadelphia 76ers, he was pretty solid. And if you get that type of player at the back end of the lottery, Mark Williams, that's pretty good value there. A lot of really intriguing prospects in this class. But I want you to name your number one favorite player in this draft in the comment section right now. Malachi Branham out of Ohio State going 16 to the Atlanta Hawks from ESPN, Tari Eason out of LSU going to the Houston Rockets, as once again they have multiple first-round picks to build around Jalen Green. Jalen Williams, high riser out of Santa Clara, prototypical 3-and-D guy going to the Chicago Bulls at 18. Walker Kessler, Defensive Player of the Year in college basketball, going to Minnesota to possibly back up Karl Anthony Towns. And then Blake Wesley, who's falling down some draft boards and is going later in some mocks, going to the San Antonio Spurs at number 20. He needs to develop. San Antonio Spurs, they do a good job of developing young and raw players. So you look at some of my pro comps for these players here, and Malachi Branham, you know, I get shades of a really good combo guard. Tari Eason, maybe some Robert Williams there. Jalen Williams is a guy who I think is going to be a prototypical 3-and-D player. You can kind of think Robert Covington with his ability to put the ball on the floor. Walker Kessler, Jakob Poeltl to a certain degree. And then Blake Wesley, really good athletic player. As for his pro comp, I'm thinking of a guy who can get up and down the floor in a hurry, who also has some length. Who did we go with, Coop? Who? Bones Highland is my pro comp for Blake Wesley. 10 more picks remaining here. Ty Washington, really smart and heady point guard, going to Denver to be a backup point guard at number 21, according to ESPN. Kennedy Chandler, number 22, to Memphis. Jaden Hardy, another player out of the G League Ignite, going to Brooklyn at 23. But that is the Philadelphia 76ers selection after Brooklyn had deferred the pick following that Ben Simmons-James Harden trade. So it'll be Hardy teaming up with James Harden to the Philadelphia 76ers. Nikola Jovic out of Mega, going to Milwaukee at 24, and then E.J. Liddell, one of my favorite players in this draft class, going 25 to the San Antonio Spurs. My pro comps here, Ty Washington, reminds me a lot of a player who was selected by the Atlanta Hawks last year in Sharif Cooper. I think he has more scoring ability, though. Kennedy Chandler. He is so reminiscent of Tyrese Maxey, a combo guard who's a little bit undersized, but is marvelous with his finishing ability around the rim. Jaden Hardy, Cam Thomas, because he can go scorched earth on the offensive side of the ball, but doesn't really do much else other than that. Jovic, Danilo, Gallinari. Both European players, both really good shooters from the outside. Not the best athletes, but they do have elite contested shot-making ability. And for E.J. Liddell, Paul Millsap. And Paul Millsap now, he's not good. He's washed. But he's a multi-time All-Star, and I do think E.J. Liddell can become that over time and help a playoff team right from the jump. Who is a first-round sleeper in this draft? I think E.J. Liddell is certainly up there. Jake LaRavia out of Wake Forest is getting some buzz right now. A lot of players who could be considered sleepers in this first round of this draft class. You want to name some second-round sleepers? You can do that as well in the comment section right now. Catching some Z's on some of these cats? Yeah, you let me know. Final selections here. Marion Beauchamp out of the G League Ignite, as they continue to do a great job of developing some of these first-round prospects. Now, if you watch G League basketball, it's a terrible product, but the players are pretty solid. Beauchamp going to Dallas at number 26. Dalen Terry, another Arizona Wildcat, going to the Heat at 27. And you know what Miami does with a bunch of young players? A tremendous job of developing them and inserting them into their system. The aforementioned Jake LaRavia going to Golden State at 28, which will help streamline his development if the Warriors hold on to that pick. Some rumors they might try to trade out of that selection. Caleb Houston out of Michigan going to Memphis at 29. And the final first-round pick here, another surprise, it's David Roddy out of Colorado State going to OKC at number 30. Final 5 pro comparisons for those players. Beauchamp, Matt Barnes can be a very good rotational player who's feisty. I actually think that Beauchamp a little bit more athletic than Matt Barnes, but I do get some shades there. Dalen Terry, Andre Iguodala. He can make winning plays and has really elite athleticism. LaRavia, Kyle Anderson. He's not going to blow you away with his athletic ability. He's a winning player, though. Caleb Houston, Chris Duarte, because Houston can become one of the better three-point shot makers in this draft class than David Roddy, DeJuan Blair. For a couple of years there with the San Antonio Spurs several years ago, Blair was a very, very good player on those championship-level teams. Once again, if you're excited for the 2022 NBA Draft, I want you to hit that thumbs up icon and like the video. Do not forget to subscribe. And in the lead up to the draft, going to continue to give you great content like this. All right, we'll give you some shout-outs here. Jokic didn't deserve MVP over Embiid from Rocket Dude. I thought Embiid should have won it. He's also the better player. Who's Jake LaRavia? I just told you, Daniel. Hopefully you got some takeaways there. Jake LaRavia needs help for the Warriors. Aladdin the Magic. Now, they might trade out of that pick because they might trade out of that pick because their roster is pretty set. I see a note in there, and Coop, you got to take note of this as well for the Brooklyn pick. OKC pick, they were both traded. So in the future, we got to get that edited. OKC traded 30. Yes, they did. They did trade 30. So good job by you. Like the video, Chase from Aladdin. Thank you very much. I'm a Portland fan, and I want Shaedon Sharpe really bad. From Hopi, Shaedon Sharpe's really good. Thanks. I got some insight on LaRavia. We got you, Daniel. Thanks for tuning in. Alec G, Paolo Banchero, favorite prospect in that draft class. We're going to be going live exclusively on Rumble after the show wraps up. You see the link down below, rumble.com/NBA now. Make sure you just open up a separate browser, plug in that link, then you can join us exclusively on Rumble as we get to some really fascinating trade speculation and trade rumors around the Philadelphia 76ers. So make sure you follow us on Rumble, rumble.com/NBA now. Already a couple thousand followers on the Rumble side of things. And over on Rumble, free, uncensored content, and I don't get canceled by my bosses. I can curse, I can say whatever I want. So if you want to see that, go over to the Rumble side of things. Coming up next on the show, we're going to talk about Kai Sotto. Is he going to get drafted? A scouting profile on Kai Sotto, a list of teams that he has worked out with in the lead up to the draft, and some potential destinations for the Filipino superstar. That's coming up. 60 likes right now, 285 people watching live. That number going to continue to increase all throughout the afternoon. Again, welcome everybody to NBA Now. Appreciate all of you for piling in. We're only getting started. You don't want to miss a single second of it. And I know we have people tuned in from the Philippines, so you're going to like this next segment. We ready to rock? Let's get it right now. Welcome into NBA Now by Chat Sports. My name is Chase Senior. Coming your way on today's show, going to do a scouting breakdown of Kai Sotto, one of the more intriguing prospects who could go in the second round of the 2022 NBA Draft. Take a look at some of the teams he's worked out with in the pre-draft process, and also we'll round out with some potential destinations for Kai Sotto. Now, a lot of people know who this player is, especially those of you watching from the Philippines, but if you don't, here's some information on Sotto because he's really had a fascinating storyline and timeline up to this point. He's trying to become the first Filipino-born draftee to ever get selected in the NBA Draft, so history could be made on June 23rd. He came to the United States as a teenager to attend the Skill Factory in Atlanta to further his developmental process because the competition in the States a lot better than it is in the Philippines. He was a four-star recruit coming out of high school, targeted by programs like Kentucky, as well as Georgia Tech and a handful of others. He did not go to the college ranks. He decided to turn pro. He originally joined the G League Ignite so that he could team up with Jalen Green, as well as Jonathan Kuminga. But because of prior engagements with the Filipino national team, as well as his want to go to the NBL to play with the Adelaide 36ers, he never played a game in the G League. Played for the national team as well as the 36ers, where he's been able to continue his development. Now, if he played college basketball, a lot of people would become familiar with Kai Sotto. But because he's been playing in Australia and on the Filipino national team, a lot of people don't realize the quality of player that he can become. And at 20 years old, I think a team should draft him in the back end of the second round. What do you think, though? Predict the future for Kai Sotto. We're only getting started on today's show. You don't want to miss a single second of it. If you think Sotto is worthy of getting drafted, I want you to hit that thumbs up icon and like the video. If you don't think he's worthy of getting selected with any of the 58 picks in this upcoming draft, I want you to comment why. As for what his Skill Factory coach in Atlanta had to say about Sotto, and keep in mind, of course, he's a little bit biased. He wants him to get selected, and he coached him, so he obviously likes the player. But Jeremiah Boswell said this about Sotto: with his size and length, his ability to play the game with his mind, see the floor, pass the ball, shoot the ball, he can really do everything. So he's unique in that. There are things that he can always improve on. In the NBA, there's a lot of small ball, switching on pick and roll. So how does he move laterally? Can he switch on guards? And how does he play pick and roll? Can he hedge and get back? And those are some of the concerns that I have on Kai Sotto. You look at the size, 7'2", 7'3", depending on where you look. He's about 240 pounds. I think that he can add some muscle and beef up just a bit, going up against some really good players on the low block in the trenches at the NBA level. Like I said, playing for the Adelaide 36ers. We'll show you the numbers here momentarily. He's only 20 years old, and I've said this a couple of times. If players like Boban Marjanovic and Taco Fall can get run and they can get tick at the NBA level, I think Sotto can as well, especially with how he can develop over time if he just gets into an NBA facility and gets in that weight room. He's not that agile, needs to improve on his footwork, and like his coach said, from his high school days, needs to do a better job of moving laterally, and I do have some concerns about how he can get out to the three-point arc to defend some really athletic bigs, to alter and block shots out there, but also if bigs put the ball on the deck, they can blow by Kai Sotto because he's a little bit slow. Again, these are things that he can improve upon over time. As for his numbers in the NBL with the 36ers, he was named the fan MVP down there in Australia. 7.5 points per game in limited minutes per game. It's one of the best international leagues in the world. 4.5 rebounds, less than a block per night. I do think his shot blocking ability is better than what a lot of people realize and think when you just look at the raw numbers there. Like Robert Williams, a good job of just altering and affecting shots at the rim with that length and that height. And shooting from beyond the arc, I want to see him clean up his stroke a little bit. I want to see him have more confidence with letting it fly from beyond the arc, but 38.5% from downtown, pretty solid for a guy that checks in at about 7'2", 7'3". There are some teams who are reportedly interested in Sotto in the lead up to the draft. This coming from his agent, and once again, is this just agent talk to hype up his client, or is it for real? Teams that scouted Australia this year, which surprisingly, given the history of Australia, sending players to the NBA is not as extensive as one might imagine. We're very enthusiastic about Kai. That's why we have so many teams that want to bring him in for individual workouts, and we actually already have commitments from at least one team that said if he stays in the NBA draft, we will draft him. We have that already, and Kai Sotto is staying in the NBA draft. So with this agent saying we have at least one team that has said we're going to take him, is that agent speak? Maybe. But coming up around the corner, there are obviously teams invested in him, interested in taking him, because he's had a lot of workouts in the pre-draft process despite an ankle injury. And then at the back end of the show, stay tuned for what I believe could be the best fits for Kai Sotto. But first, I want to hear from you in the comment section once more, and I want everybody watching to chime in and let your feelings be known. Which team do you want to see Kai Sotto go to? Let me know in the comment section right now. Also, make sure you subscribe to us here at Chat Sports. We'll be going live for both rounds of the NBA draft on June 23rd, which is coming up in about a week. And then a week after that, NBA free agency does get underway. We'll be live for days at a time, hours at a time. Free agent tracker, free agent grades, best available players. That's why you subscribe to the channel. Stay tuned for all of that. Known Kai Sotto workouts up to this point. These are teams who have worked him out in the lead up to June 23rd. New York Knicks, Orlando Magic, Cleveland Cavaliers, Chicago Bulls, and the Atlanta Hawks. Here's what a league source did say about Sotto's aforementioned injury to his ankle, which kept him from working out for more teams this week. Workout scheduled this week had to be canceled because he needs a little bit of time to heal, rest, and elevate. Hopefully the ankle will get better fast enough so he can do a few more critical workouts. Here are some of the teams that I think that Sotto would fit really well on, and all of these teams have a need for a backup big man. The New York Knicks, they worked out Kai Sotto. Obviously, they're interested, so I think Sotto would be a really good fit. They could lose Mitchell Robinson. Los Angeles Lakers, they are bereft of depth in that front court. They might not have Dwight Howard. They moved on last year from DeAndre Jordan. They don't have a young center that they can build around and develop. And you put Sotto at the G League level, he could be a good fit with the Los Angeles Lakers. Boston Celtics, you have Robert Williams. Other than that, who are your backup bigs? Kai Sotto, I think, could fit well on the Boston Celtics. For the Golden State Warriors, they might lose Kevon Looney in NBA free agency. And if that's the case, and they can't afford him because I think he's going to get paid $7 to $10 million if he hits the open market, you have James Wiseman, But with him, there are injury concerns, and if he can't hit the floor, not only are you losing a starting caliber center in Kevon Looney, you might not have a backup in James Wiseman. That's why depth is really critical with Kai Sotto going there, and I have trust in the Warriors player development staff that they're going to be able to develop Kai Sotto to the fullest of his capabilities and tap into his fullest potential. For the Dallas Mavericks, throughout the playoffs, I thought that the backline of that defense was terrible. Once opposing guards and wings were able to get past that first and second level, what I mean there, the guards and the wings on the roster, Dallas lacks a rim protector, and Sotto could give them that. Boban Marjanovic, we'll see if they bring him back. He has Luka Doncic's homie. Orlando Magic, another team that worked out Kai Sotto. Cleveland Cavaliers also have to be on this list. Chicago Bulls, Atlanta Hawks, Utah Jazz. I also look at a team like the Philadelphia 76ers. So many times in the playoffs, when Embiid has gone to the bench, the Sixers have been so bad behind him. This past playoffs, it was Paul Reed as well as DeAndre Jordan. In seasons prior, it was Greg Monroe. I thought Andre Drummond was a really good backup for Embiid, but they traded him away in order to get James Harden. So I'd put the Sixers on this list as well as another team where Kai Sotto could go to with one of those late second-round picks. So here's the biggest question of today's show. Will Kai Sotto even get drafted? And if he doesn't, he will be one of the more sought-after undrafted free agents in the NBA. Type Y for yes, you think he's going to get selected, N for no, and thank you so much for watching today's show. Okay, we'll give you some shout-outs here. John Paul thinks he's getting selected. Joseph does as well. Clayton Lockhart is right there as well. No knows yet. Nola versus the world. Y for yes. Janelle. Y for yes. Easy, yes from Pop Johnson. Chua Lore, Y from yes. Cheeto Dictator, yes. Thank you from Stunna. We got you. Seymour Pape, Toronto Raptors. Pop Johnson, I'd take him by pure size. John Paul thinks that Sotto will get selected. Baby Cakes 420. Yes, we have all yeses in right now for Kai Sotto getting selected at some point in the 58 picks of the draft. And there are 58 this year because of the tampering charges for the Chicago Bulls as well as the Miami Heat. Coming up next on the show, going to do a mailbag where I'm really looking forward to answering all of your questions. Steven with this on Sotto. He's agile for his size. I want him to be a pick by the Los Angeles Lakers. Yeah, could happen. Coming up next, NBA News and Rumors mailbag. Use the hashtag NBA. Better yet, super chat us. We will definitely take all of your donations, but we're going to answer all of your questions that you have ready for us. That's coming up right around the bend. Next up on NBA Now. For those of you piling in, appreciate that. Approaching 400 people watching live. For those of you who haven't subscribed, do so right now and hit that thumbs up icon because we're not getting to this mailbag until we get 100 likes. So make sure you smash that like button. Also, after our show wraps up on YouTube, we'll be going live exclusively on Rumble. Make sure you subscribe and join us over there for more uncensored, unfiltered, and exclusive content that you can find on Rumble only. Rumble.com/NBA Now. Look forward to hearing from all of you. So make sure you plug in that link, separate browser, keep this video rolling, and we'll go live on Rumble right after this. Done subscribe, sir, from Lynn. Hopefully more of you subscribe. I'm looking at the YouTube numbers here on our main Chat Sports YouTube channel. We're closing in on, I believe, 305,000 subscribers. Yeah, we're 82 people away from 305,000 subscribers. If we get there by the end of this show, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to shotgun a beer. I will shotgun a beer if we get to 305,000 subscribers by the end of the show. 82 subs picked up on a live show. That's unheard of. So if we do that, we'll certainly celebrate, and we'll bring in the new guy, our intern, to shotgun a beer with me. Let's keep this close to 10 as possible. NBA News and Rumors mailbag coming your way right now. Get those questions in, and let's answer them all. Coming up on today's show, going to do an NBA News and Rumors mailbag around the NBA Draft, NBA Free Agency, and the latest NBA trade rumors. So, to all of our loyal subscribers getting those questions in, we greatly appreciate it. And if you haven't subscribed to us here at Chat Sports, do so right now by hitting that red subscribe button for more content like this. We start off this mailbag with this question coming in from Evan Hinders. Did the Timberwolves sign Kent Bazemore? Timberwolves don't want Kent Bazemore, nor should they need Kent Bazemore. Kent Bazemore is washed. Several years ago, he was a decent rotational player. Even 2 years ago with the Golden State Warriors, he was okay for a Warriors team that didn't even make it out of the NBA play-in tournament. He was really bad for the Los Angeles Lakers. His best days are behind him, and even as a depth piece coming in off the bench, I don't think the T-Wolves need Bazemore. Next question coming in from Ballin' Like Bob. Who are some players the Knicks can trade for? I'm glad you asked this question because we covered this recently on one of our shows, and I believe we have a list cooked up that I put together of some of the top Knicks trade targets who I think they should go after. Now, you look at the Knicks roster right now, really solid team with a couple of really good young pieces in R.J. Barrett, Emmanuel Quickly, Obi Toppin. We'll see if they trade away Julius Randle, which would free up a lot of money to maybe absorb a big contract for a Malcolm Brogdon, who got paid last offseason. Donovan Mitchell is superb as an offensive player. He is the star that the New York Knicks have been looking for a really long time and haven't been able to get their hands on since Carmelo Anthony. They also might have a need in the front court if Mitchell Robinson were to leave in free agency. If that's the case, Indiana Pacers, they're rebuilding to a certain degree. Are they willing to trade away Miles Turner like they traded away some of their players last year in Domantas Sabonis? I think Miles Turner would be a good fit on the New York Knicks, and I think he's somewhat underrated as one of the best shot blockers at the NBA level. Jalen Brunson getting rave reviews for what he was able to do in the NBA playoffs as Luka Doncic's sidekick. And when Luka was out, I thought that Jalen Brunson played good basketball. It's about time that people are hyping up Jalen Brunson. Watched him at Nova, win 2 national championships, player of the year in college basketball. That, of course, would have to be a sign and trade as he's about to be a free agent. And then the big one. If you can go big fish, big game hunting and find a way to trade for Damian Lillard, you have the draft capital to do it. You have some of the aforementioned young players who I just listed. I think Damian Lillard, he's staying in Portland, but he has said, I love playing at Madison Square Garden. One can dream. So let me ask you this question for all the Knicks fans out there. Will the Knicks make the playoffs next year? Type P for playoffs, FT for fire Tibbs, because if they don't make the playoffs, I think they're going to fire Tibbs. Let me know in the comment section right now. Next question coming in from Frankie Smokes. There are some rumors about the Sixers trading Tobias Harris, Danny Green, and their first-round pick. What do you think of that? Appreciate the question, Frankie Smokes. Also included in some of the players that the Sixers are gauging interest on, it includes Matisse Thybulle, Shake Milton, and Furkan Korkmaz, who they just signed an NBA free agency last year. This coming from Keith Pompey of the Philadelphia Inquirer. I think the most valuable asset in terms of trade pieces, who we just talked about here, it's Tobias Harris. He is a good player who is paid great money. And I thought that Toby, once he was able to get acclimated with James Harden, after a couple of rough games, played great basketball. And at times in the playoffs, he was fantastic. And I think that he's a really good player on a playoff team. I just think for Philadelphia, he's not quite moving the needle with the salary that he's on. And we know that Daryl Morey is very, very aggressive, trying to get a third superstar around Embiid as well as James Harden. Some might make the argument that Tyrese Maxey is that third star. By trading away Tobias Harris, does it free up the offense to a certain degree? For Danny Green, he suffered that gruesome knee injury to his ACL and another ligament in there. So I'm not sure when he's going to be able to come back, but as a 3-and-D guy who's won 3 championships, he is a good veteran leader. And for that first-round pick, they could trade it away or go after a guy like Blake Wesley out of Notre Dame or a couple of other really good players who could be left, like a Jalen Williams out of Santa Clara. I'd like to see the Sixers hold on to that 23rd pick instead of trading it. But if you trade that pick away to get a good player back, then you might have to budge on that trade offer. Today's show presented to you by our friends at Fanatics. Right now, NBA jerseys are on sale if you go to chatsports.com/NBA jerseys. And I know nowadays I'm hanging out a lot by the pool. I've been rocking a couple of old school Philadelphia 76ers Iverson jerseys. Wearing a basketball jersey during the summer is the move if you're swaggy. Get swagged out thanks to our friends at Fanatics, chatsports.com/NBA jerseys. There are all types of jerseys available, all types of styles for every single team, multiple players as well. We're going to put that link in the comment section and the description of this video. Get hooked up today thanks to today's presenting sponsor in Fanatics. Another question coming in from Anthony Suarez. Could the Celtics trade for Rudy Gobert? That's pretty juicy. And when you talk about monster rumors, that one is certainly up there with some of the big rumors out there on the NBA streets right now. I don't really think that the Boston Celtics need to trade for Rudy Gobert. First of all, I'm not paying a big man more than $40 million, especially a guy who's offensively limited, who I think is a little bit overrated when it comes to his defense. Yes, he's a generational defensive player, but when he goes up against athletic bigs, he can also be a turnstile in some of these switches. Rudy Gobert can get picked apart, and we've seen it time and time again in the playoffs. And then as an offensive player, he's really just an alley-oop threat who can't shoot and can be a liability from the free throw line. And for Boston, Robert Williams, tremendous throughout the playoff run en route to the NBA Finals. And I was wrong about the Time Lord's contract. I didn't understand it at the time. Now, first, it was reported to be worth more money than it actually was. Then the actual contract was a little bit lower. But we see what Brad Stevens saw in Robert Williams as just a fantastic rim protector and shot blocker. So I don't think you need to trade for Rudy Gobert. Shay, with this, who do you think the Chicago Bulls are going to go after, and what do you think they're going to do in free agency? Shay, look, I think the Bulls are pretty set. I think that the health status of Lonzo Ball is a little bit perilous right now. Like, you're not sure if he's going to be able to come back from that knee injury. There were also a lot of concerns out there about the knee maybe being problematic throughout his entire NBA career. So I think if you stay put with the roster, I think the big point of emphasis is bringing back Zach LaVine. And according to reports out there, it looks as though LaVine is going to go back to the Windy City in Chi-Town. Then I think your roster is pretty set because of everything that the Bulls did last year. And you get a full year of Patrick Williams. I think that's big for this basketball team as well. How about this for a name? Sadie's Nuts. Who should the Rockets choose, Jabari Smith or Paolo Banchero? If Jabari Smith falls, then you go after Jabari Smith. He's the number 1 overall player on my draft board. And I know that he plays wing, and Jalen Green does as well. But for Jabari Smith, he's more of a catch-and-shoot guy. I have concerns about his handle, but if he plays alongside Jalen Green, you don't have to worry about him putting the ball on the floor. Jalen Green can certainly do that. As for Paolo Banchero, my pro comp for him is Chris Webber. I think he would be a great fit alongside Jalen Green. And what the Rockets did last year in the NBA Draft, I thought was awesome. Alperen Şengün, Josh Christopher, a couple of really, really good selections. They're building something special down there in H-Town. Solar Bell, who can the Mavs target in the NBA Draft? A couple of really good players who could be selected. We also have some previous graphics ready for that if producer Coop can pop those up. Subscribe to Dallas Mavericks today because Coop does a great job of putting those shows together. So these are draft targets that I think the Mavericks could go after. Dalen Terry, the wing out of Arizona. Kennedy Chandler reminds me a lot of Tyrese Maxey. He'd be a good guard coming in off the bench. You don't get that with Josh Green right now. Kennedy Chandler can help you make up for that bust of a pick out of Tennessee. Jaden Hardy, really good player out of the G League, Ignite. Kind of reminds me of Cam Thomas. Needs to be more consistent with shooting the basketball, but certainly does have that scoring upside. Blake Wesley, really good athlete. And Jalen Williams, a 3-and-D guy out of Santa Clara who shot around 40% from 3 last year with Santa Clara. I understand it's not the greatest level of competition, but I do think his game translates really well to the NBA level. Kind of reminds me of Chris Duarte to a certain degree. So those are Mavs draft targets who I think they could go after if they don't trade that pick. I want to hear from you in the comment section right now. Who do you think the Dallas Mavericks should draft? Get that comment section popping. Okay. Let's see if anybody's saying anything about the Dallas Mavericks. 414 people watching live right now. I said if we got to 305,000 subscribers, which would mean we pick up 82 subs during our live show, then I would shotgun a beer. We picked up 2, so we're 80 away from 305,000. We get there, we're going nuts. Super Chat just came in. We'll pop that up on the screen here in just a little bit. Predator Poaches in the chat right now. Should Detroit trade Jeremy Grant? He's going into the final year of his contract, so it might be wise to do that. Walker Kessler, instead of getting killed inside again, cool 60. Yeah, they did get cooked inside. Walker Kessler would be a pretty solid pick at 26 overall for Dallas. That's actually a pretty good draft target. Banchero winning Rookie of the Year from Goyo. Yeah, he could win Rookie of the Year. I think his game translates, which will allow him to impact games right away. Tavares, is Ayton a good fit for the Spurs? Yes, they need a big, and they just need overall talent. Here is this super chat coming in from Jeff Sherwood Louvreau. Who could be a later lottery pick who can be great? Late lottery pick who could be a really good player. I think Agbaji could be really good as a late lotto. Let's see. Yeah, I'm going to go Agbaji. I think Johnny Davis could be a late lottery pick who could also be a really good player. Appreciate that question coming in. I'm not going to get got by that name right there. Going to be going live exclusively on Rumble after the show. By who? I said it voluntarily. Make sure you join us live exclusively on Rumble after the show is over. I literally said, how about this name? Rumble.com/NBA now. Make sure you join us on the Rumble side of things. After our YouTube show wraps up, we'll go live exclusively on Rumble. As for what we're doing next, a lot of really good stuff to get to. Going to talk about the Lakers, going to talk about the Warriors, still get to another mailbag, talk about the Philadelphia 76ers. But first, going to talk about the Golden State Warriors here. Could they be wheeling and dealing? If you're a Warriors fan, subscribe to our Warriors channel. More shout-outs in the comment section right now. Glenn Vastine, Aladdin the Magic, the RC Planemaker. Is that RC Maxfield? Devion Weems, also in the chat. Lynn Inus. Continue to subscribe to the channel. Hit that thumbs up icon. We pick up 80 subs on today's live show. I'm shotgunning a beer and bringing in the intern to do it with me. We're 79 away right now, so we continue to hack away there. All right, let's talk about the Golden State Warriors right now on NBA Now. You're tuned in to Golden State Warriors today by Chat Sports. I'm Chase Senior. Hope all of you are having a fantastic week. And yes, I understand that the NBA Finals continue to roll on, and the Golden State Warriors getting so close to raising yet another Larry O'Brien trophy, bringing another championship to San Francisco. But there's some really interesting trade rumors around the Golden State Warriors happening right now in the NBA streets. According to Jake Fisher, Golden State could be wheeling and dealing this offseason, especially when it comes to the NBA draft. And we'll get to some players who they could target. Dallas and Golden State, said Jake Fisher of Bleacher Report, have expensive rosters that feature players such as Jalen Brunson, Jordan Poole, and Andrew Wiggins, who are due for big paydays. The Mavericks and Warriors are searching for opportunities to acquire future draft capital for those selection, sources said, in the event a coveted player on their boards does not fall. Now, as it pertains to the Golden State Warriors, you look at this team right now. They are stacked. You have the core star players of Steph Curry, Klay Thompson, Draymond Green, but then you just drafted Jonathan Kuminga, who I think can become a star over time. Moses Moody, I think, is going to be a very good scorer. Then you still have two really good young pieces, and Andrew Wiggins, who is vying for NBA Finals MVP, up there with Steph Curry if he has a big Game 6 and Steph Curry struggles once again. And then Jordan Poole is another young player on this team, and Poole and Wiggins are due for big paydays. So for the Warriors, you might look to trade out of number 28. But if they do hold on to that pick, here are some potential prospects with a 28th overall selection. Christian Brown out of Kansas is a really good athlete who last year for the Kansas Jayhawks en route to the national championship game made a lot of athletic plays on both ends. He guarded multiple positions, sometimes 5 at any given time. He has that corner 3 ball down, can put the ball on the deck just a bit, but because of his athleticism, I think he's going to be an impact player at the NBA level. As for Christian Koloko, if you lose Kevon Looney in free agency, if he does indeed hit the open market, and you have some concerns about James Wiseman, maybe Koloko could be your backup center, really good athlete who can block shots at the rim and reminds me a little bit of Robert Williams. As for Jake LaRavia, my pro comp for him is Kyle Anderson. Impacts the game in a variety of ways. It doesn't always look pretty, but it is efficient. Nikola Jovic out of Mega, probably the top international player in my opinion in this draft class. Does remind me a lot of a Bojan Bogdanovic to a certain degree, and then Jaden Hardy, the guard out of the G League Ignite, another potential prospect there at 28. So with that, I ask you this, Dub Nation, and I want to hear from you in the comment section right now. Should the Warriors trade their first-round pick at number 28, or do you think that they need to use it? If you want them to trade it, type T for trade. If you think they should keep it, submit a K for keep in the comment section right now. To OG Anunoby now. one of the young upstart players in this league whose development over time has been very reminiscent of a Giannis or a Jaylen Brown, which goes to show you he has been working diligently at his offensive game. He's always been a really good defensive player, guarding multiple positions with that size, length, and athleticism, but his offensive game has become increasingly better. And according to an anonymous Eastern Conference executive, the Warriors could be looking to trade for OG Anunoby. Here's what an anonymous exec had to say in the league. He could play 3 positions. He can guard 5 positions. He can shoot the 3 ball. The Raptors really wanted to build around him, but they're not too sure now. For a long-term replacement on Andrew Wiggins, he is perfect. He does a lot of what Wiggins does, maybe a better shooter and a better defender, but not quite the same pure scorer. Now, with how Andrew Wiggins has been playing throughout the NBA Finals, some might disagree with that sentiment there from that anonymous NBA executive. I do as well, because throughout the Finals, Andrew Wiggins has redeemed himself. He was exiled in Minnesota, and he has been the Warriors' second best player throughout the championship round. This trade idea, coming from Heavy.com, would allow the Warriors to receive OG Anunoby and hold on to Andrew Wiggins, but would you be able to pay Wiggins in the long term? That's the looming question here. Golden State receives OG, and the Raptors receive Jonathan Kuminga and James Wiseman. Over time, I think Kuminga can be a better player than Anunoby. I'm still high on James Wiseman. I would not make that deal. But if the Warriors do make that deal, or any move of significance throughout this entire offseason, as you covered, us right here by Chat Sports on Golden State Warriors Today. Make sure you subscribe by heading to youtube.com/WarriorsTV, or just hit that red subscribe button down below. Just eclipsed 30,000 subscribers. We're shooting for 40K next. As for Anunoby, he's a terrific player, and I've heaped praise on him throughout today's show. But at this point, just re-sign Andrew Wiggins. Wiggins and Anunoby are very similar players, and I think Wiggins is actually a better fit on this Warriors roster. High-level defensive player who's been causing fits for Jason Tatum all throughout the NBA Finals, and is about the same offensive guy as OG Anunoby. But the development that's taken place for Anunoby is certainly impressive. You look at his first 3 seasons in the league when he was one of those diamonds in the rough discovered by Masai Ujiri and that Raptors front office. Less than 8 points per game, 3.5 boards, about a steal per, took only about 3 3-point attempts per night, and connected on a respectable 36.5% from his downtown attempts. Last 2 years, though, you see the numbers soaring up, 16.5 points per game, 5.5 boards, steals have gone up as well as he's become more acclimated with the NBA game. He's become a better defensive player. More than double the 3-point attempts, and you know what's happened? His 3-point numbers have gotten even better at nearly 38% with a lot of volume there. So you look at this trade here. Once again, I'll break it down. Warriors receive OG Anunoby. Raptors receive Jonathan Kuminga as well as James Wiseman. Would you make this deal? I want to hear from you in the comment section right now, Dub Nation. Give me a Y for yes or an N for no. Coming up next on the show, keys for the Warriors to close out the NBA Finals against the Boston Celtics and give Steph Curry, Draymond Green, Klay Thompson, Steve Kerr, and Andre Iguodala their 4th championship as a core. But first, make sure you subscribe to our main Chat Sports YouTube channel, as we will be going live Thursday, June 23rd for the 2022 NBA Draft. As you know, I've been doing a lot of research, scouting all of these prospects, and we're going to be talking about every single one of them when the picks are made on our main Chat Sports YouTube channel. So make sure you subscribe over there at youtube.com/ChatSportsTV. Keys to victory for the Warriors in Game 6 so that this series does not go 7 games. Can Steph Curry get back on track? If he does, look out for Boston. Golden State won Game 5 with Curry not hitting a three-pointer for the first time in like 233 games. And if he does start to feel it, Boston is in big trouble. Boston has also been very sloppy with the basketball, making some ill-advised passes and decisions. The Warriors have to continue to up their defensive pressure and force Boston turnovers, because they've done a great job of capitalizing on those Celtics giveaways with some points off turnovers. Also, I want to see the Warriors have another diversified approach. I thought that was beautiful in Game 5, how Klay Thompson showed up. Gary Payton comes in off the bench. He gave you big minutes. Jordan Poole did what he had to do, and the splash party was splashing like a cannonball on a mid-July summer day as he hit a couple of monster buckets for the Warriors. Klay Draymond. Everybody was really stepping in, and I think that's what you need on the road if you're the Dubs. Also, Golden State has to weather the crowd and the atmosphere. Boston is desperate to send this series back to San Francisco to give them an opportunity to win their first championship since 2009, and the crowd is going to be loud. I thought what Draymond Green said, he made a really good point. When we enter the plane, we have to have this mental makeup where we have to be mentally tough because we know what to expect. And we know that when we land in Boston, that energy is going to be palpable. We have to put on our hard hats. We have to come ready to play because if we don't, we're going to get punched in the face like a Mike Tyson uppercut. So who do you think is going to win Game 6? It is prediction time right here on Warriors Today. And if you made it this far on today's video, type Dubs and Real One in the comment section. We greatly appreciate it. C for Celtics, W for the Warriors. I think Golden State polishes this series off. Okay, we'll give you some shout-outs here. Who you got? C for the Celtics, W for the Warriors. Let us know. Chualor, Warriors. Daniel, Dubs. Reno, Warriors winning 6. Celtics from Cobra Kai. Melvin Everett, intentionally. Pay to win, W. Anthony Vigil, W as well. Reno, he's going with the Warriors. Lynn, riding with the Celtics. I don't care, Luka in 6. Well, Luka is probably in Slovenia right now. I want the Celtics to win in 7 to prove the Warriors can't win without Kevin Durant. Stop. That's me right now. Looking at you. C for Celtics, W for the Warriors. We doing a mailbag next? Lakers? Cool. Yeah, that's fine. We're going to talk Lakers next on the show. If you're a fan of the Lake Show, let us know, and we'll talk some Lakers. No commercial breaks here, so just getting a sip of water. Bear with me. All right. We're going to talk Lakers right now. Continue to get that comment section flowing with your predictions for Game 6. All right, let's dive into the latest Lakers news and rumors. This is the Lakers Report by Chat Sports. I'm Chase Senior. Hope all of Laker Nation is having a phenomenal week. Coming up on today's show, a bunch of the latest Lakers news and rumors on some really notable players throughout this offseason. Here's who we're talking about. Zach LaVine. Is he going to go to Chicago, or is he going to hit NBA free agency and become a sought-after target in the free agent ranks? Could the Lakers go after Gary Trent Jr.? That continues to be a simmering rumor out there. Christian Wood, reportedly getting shot by the Houston Rockets. If that's the case, should the Lakers show interest? And Danny Green, could a reunion come up on the horizon? Suffered that knee injury in the NBA playoffs in Game 6 against the Miami Heat, but Philadelphia, according to the Philadelphia Inquirer, reportedly shopping him. We're going to get to all of that on today's show, but first, we're going to start off with Zach LaVine because he is the star-studded player of this cast. According to Bleacher Report's Jake Fisher, league sources expect that LaVine is going to resign with the Chicago Bulls. The West Coast native and UCLA grad had been linked to the Lakers very loosely, but you know how the NBA rumor streets get. Once things gets cooking, man, it can really get wild. And the NBA free agency window does open up on June 30th. Make sure you subscribe to the Lakers Report because we'll keep you up to date with every free agent that they sign. And you also subscribe to our main Chat Sports YouTube channel because we'll be going live for hours on end. As for my thoughts on Zach LaVine, really like him as a player. He's an uber hyper-athletic scorer who, despite dealing with some injuries, that hasn't really affected his shooting output. If I'm Zach LaVine and I'm looking at the future of the Lakers, LeBron James hasn't committed to signing that contract extension. Anthony Davis can't stay healthy. There aren't a lot of young pieces on this roster. I'd go back to Chicago because when everybody was healthy for the Bulls last year, they were the number 1 seed in the Eastern Conference. Then everybody started dropping like flies. Lonzo Ball, Alex Caruso, Patrick Williams, and that's when the Bulls started to struggle. If I'm LaVine, I want to see what the Bulls can do at full strength. Do you have faith that the Lakers front office during this offseason, in the draft, if they end up buying a pick or in free agency, can make the right decisions to get this franchise back on track? Type Y for yes in the comment section or N for no. Interested to see what you all have to say. As for Gary Trent Jr., Raptors rumors continue to simmer out there in the NBA universe, and They could trade for Rudy Gobert. They could trade away OG Anunoby. Could Gary Trent Jr. be dealt as well? An anonymous Eastern Conference exec told Sean Devaney, an NBA insider for Heavy.com, that a trade for Gary Trent Jr. could be an option, and the Lakers reportedly did explore a trade for him at the NBA trade deadline. The reported offer at the time, Kendrick Nunn, Talen Horton-Tucker, and that 2027 first-round pick. Here's what that anonymous executive had to say about Gary Trent maybe being dealt to the Lakers. The pick is the key thing here. If the Raptors think that pick is going to be valuable, and it might very well be, then it makes some sense. Horton-Tucker and Nunn, you assume he is going to play again and be a pretty good bargain. The Raptors like THT. Remember, they wanted him in the Kyle Lowry deal that fell through with the Lakers. It is hard to say what kind of future Trent is going to have there if they'll pay him. So if they think they can get assets back now, it is something to certainly explore. And if you can trade away Kendrick Nunn, a first, and THT for Gary Trent Jr., it's pretty good value for LA because I think Gary Trent Jr. is a pretty solid player. If the Lakers make any move of significance or little significance, we'll be the first ones to let you know. That's why we're closing in on 46,000 subscribers. Can we get to that mark on this video alone? Let's do it. Can Laker Nation, the Lake Show, show up and show out? Just hit that red subscribe button down below. 149 people away from 46K. Let's get there because we keep you up to date all year round on all things going down with Los Angeles. As for what Gary Trent Jr. has been able to do throughout his career, I love players who show monumental improvements year after year. And you look at the numbers here, that's what Gary Trent Jr. has been able to do. 2018-19, only started one game. He basically wasn't in the rotation for the Portland Trail Blazers. The following year, starts to get a little bit more run, and he got more starts. 9 points per game, 44.5% from the field, and nearly 42% from three. So going into that offseason, it was a big one for him, and the Trail Blazers realized, okay, this guy's pretty good, but he's going to get paid at some point. That's why he was traded at the NBA trade deadline to Toronto. He still had a really good year, 15.5 points per game, shot around 39% from distance, and then this past year, best year of his career from a scoring standpoint, 18 points per game, knocked down about 41% of his shots and 38% with volume from beyond the arc. So for LA, I've said this time and time again, you got to get more athletic, you got to get a little bit younger, and Gary Trent Jr. fits the profiles of getting that length, getting that athleticism, and just getting a little bit younger on this roster, a roster that last year was the oldest in the history of the NBA. I want to hear from you in regards to Gary Trent Jr. Your level of interest in him is what? Scale it for me from 1 to 10. 1, not interested at all. He can hit the road, Jack. We don't want him here. Or 10, you're all in. Let me know in the comment section. Now we pivot to Christian Wood. Are the Houston Rockets shopping him? And if that's the case, should the Lakers go after him? Now, I think it's a little bit of a clash in terms of fit with Anthony Davis, but reports do suggest that the Rockets could deal Christian Wood this offseason. Some concerns, some questions about his cultural fit down there in Houston, which is a concern down there because they're trying to build this young roster led by Jalen Green right now. This report coming from Hoops Hype and Michael Scotto, rival executives who have spoken with Hoops Hype, expect the Rockets to gauge the trade market on Wood's value this summer. Houston needs to decide if Wood, who turns 27 in December, is going to be a long-term member of the core or be traded for future assets that they may align better with Jalen Green and potentially Paolo Banchero, depending on how the draft board falls. Now, Wood is a really good player. Pretty interesting story as well. Highly touted recruit coming out of high school, goes to UNLV, and doesn't have the greatest college career. Elects to go to the NBA draft early and was undrafted. But he can score it, he can rebound it. A classic stretch four, and a classic big man nowadays who you want on your team who can shoot the rock from the outside and has playmaking ability. Those of you who are subscribed to the Lakers Report, thank you so much for supporting everything that we do, but also on our main Chat Sports YouTube channel. Last week, we eclipsed 300,000 subscribers, and we're going to be going live Thursday, June 23rd for the 2022 NBA Draft. Myself, Harrison Graham, breaking down every single selection you don't want to miss. The most watched NBA Draft coverage on YouTube as well as Rumble, so make sure you subscribe to our main Chat Sports YouTube channel. Could a Danny Green reunion with Los Angeles happen? Won an NBA championship in the bubble back in 2020. Could he make his way back to the West Coast from the East Coast in Philadelphia? Multiple reports out there, led by Keith Pompey of the Philadelphia Inquirer, that the Sixers expected to explore trade packages for Green as well as the 23rd overall pick. Now, he suffered that gruesome knee injury. Most notably, it was a torn ACL with some other torn ligaments in there. He's also on an expiring deal worth about $10 million. So when is he going to be able to come back? That's a big question. And how is he going to be able to come back off the knee injury, considering the tread on the tires for a guy who's been in the league forever, coming out of UNC, who's also won 3 NBA championships and has played deep into the playoffs. Won a title with the Spurs, the Raptors, and then with the Lakers in 2020. At this point, Danny Green is a very good cultural fit and a guy who is still a pretty solid defender. He is not the defender that he was even back during the bubble season, but he has that corner 3 down. He's not afraid to shoot it. He's played in a bunch of big games. He is a great leader, very smart basketball player, pretty good podcaster as well. I think it's only a matter of time before he gets involved in the media landscape, but you look at the numbers here, consistently he has been throughout his career, especially the last few years, a guy who hovers between 36 and 40% from three-point range. So if you're the Lakers, I just got done saying, I want to get younger, I want to get more athletic. Danny Green doesn't fit that profile. He does fit a nice little need of being that 3-and-D player who the Lakers don't have. So with that, I want to ask you this. Pick a trade plan and pick a move that you would prefer the Lakers to make. You want to trade for Christian Wood? Type A as plan A. If you want to go for Danny Green and that first-round pick, type B. For Philadelphia, they're trying to shed some salary cap to build around Joel Embiid and James Harden. So you let me know what the better trade plan is right now in the comment section. We'll give you some shout-outs here. We'll do another mailbag. Then we're going to shift over exclusively to Rumble for this mailbag. A lot of you got your questions in for the first one. We're taking more questions. Hashtag NBA or Super Chat. Get those questions in right now, and we'll answer as many of them as we can throughout this mailbag. I'm seeing an A from Daniel, an A from Michael, B from Brandon Roan, My Holy King submitting an A, Nola versus the World, A as well. Cobra Kai World, send Westbrook and THT to Houston for Wall and Wood. I think John Wall is a better player than Russell Westbrook. Stay hydrated. Been talking for more than an hour straight, and we still have a lot to get to. So next up on the show, a mailbag where I take all of your questions. Let's get to it right now. Coming up around the bend on NBA Now, going to take all of your questions on all of the latest NBA news and rumors. But first, make sure you subscribe to our main Chat Sports YouTube channel because the NBA Draft coming up before we know it, Thursday, June 23rd, and we will be live for the most watched NBA Draft coverage on YouTube as well as Rumble. Hit that red subscribe button down below as we discuss every single selection on draft night. Then after that, draft winners and losers, draft grades, then a week after the draft free agency. You don't want to miss any of it. That's why you subscribe to the channel. We start off this mailbag with this question coming in from the Rainbow Cow. We saw what Luka Doncic did with what he has. What superstar can help him get to the NBA Finals? You know what? I'm pretty intrigued by a Donovan Mitchell. I think that Luka Doncic needs another playmaker. But here's the deal. You can't have Donovan Mitchell and Jalen Brunson, so you would have to select between the two. I might actually rather have Jalen Brunson on the roster, but I think he's more of a 3. So who is your number 2? Do you go after a big man? DeAndre Ayton would be perfect for the Mavericks roster as a rim protector and a guy who can give you athleticism and switching ability, which is of the utmost importance in today's NBA. The point here being, Luka is great. He can lead you to the Western Conference Finals, like LeBron did in putting the Cleveland Cavaliers on his back en route to a bunch of Finals appearances and Eastern Conference Finals appearances. But they were never seriously considered to be a true NBA championship contender because the roster around LeBron wasn't all that deep or star-studded. That's why he went to the Miami Heat. For Luka and the Mavericks, got to get that bona fide number 2. Key with this, which trade rumor do you think will actually happen? That's a good one. I think DeAndre Ayton is going to leave the Phoenix Suns, and I think that he is going to get traded, and I think it's going to be a sign and trade. I don't think that DeAndre Ayton is going to be allowed to leave by the Phoenix Suns for nothing as the former number 1 overall pick. So I do think he gets dealt somewhere to a team that needs a center, like the Dallas Mavericks, maybe the Charlotte Hornets, Portland Trail Blazers, a sneaky team out there as well. Let's get to this question from Greg Johnson. In the movie Hustle, a proposed trade was made dealing Joel Embiid for the number 1 overall pick. Do you think the Sixers would ever actually do that? Bo Cruz gets buckets, by the way. Let me say this about Hustle. As a guy who grew up in the Philadelphia area, I think aesthetically it was shot great with some really good sights and sounds around the Philadelphia area. That's point number 1. Point number 2, sports movies are hard to make, and I thought that Adam Sandler did a great job in producing Hustle and making it actually look realistic. Now, he was able to do that because Juan Hernan-Gomez was actually a really good actor, and he was also a really good basketball player because he is an NBA player. Anthony Edwards playing the role as villain I thought was fantastic. The fact that the Sixers gave Adam Sandler and his crew all of the access that they needed with their practice facility in Camden, as well as the Wells Fargo Center in South Philadelphia, was a nice little touch as well. As for your question, Greg, and this is really a pop culture reference here, I'm going to give the movie a 9 out of 10. I thought it was excellent, and sports movies are not always that good. I don't think the Sixers would trade Joel Embiid for the number 1 overall pick, because right now, as that roster is currently constructed, they're ready to win right now. And if you trade for the number 1 overall pick, I think Jabari Smith can be a good player. He's my number 1 overall guy on this draft board. Paolo Banchero's solid. Chet Holmgren, I don't really like. I might actually go Jaden Ivey, Benedict Mathurin, and Shaedon Sharpe ahead of Chet Holmgren. But the point here being, you're ready to win right now with the construction of this roster, and a rookie doesn't help you win right now. Embiid can get you a lot. He can get you the number 1 overall pick. I just don't think it makes a lot of sense. And also, Joel Embiid is Philadelphia's son. He's finished runner-up in the MVP the last 2 years. He's playing masterful basketball, which is beautiful to watch night in and night out. Sixers haven't punched their ticket past the second round, but hopefully Embiid will be able to do that in a Sixers uniform and not elsewhere in exchange for the number 1 overall pick. So I graded Hustle. I gave it a 9 out of 10, which would be a 90 out of 100. I want you to be a movie critic and call yourself Jack LaDeray in the comment section right now and grade Hustle from 1 to 100. I thought it was excellent. You let me know what you think about the flick down below. Joseph with this, who do you see the Pelicans drafting with their picks? It could be Benedict Mathurin. It could be Johnny Davis. I think those are the 2 picks that they could pinpoint. Shaedon Sharpe, if he drops, would be a fascinating pick. Him coming off the bench as a hyper scorer could be a good addition on that Pelicans team. I'll say this right now. If Zion's healthy, the Pelicans, they can be a top 5 seed in the Western Conference next year. Tavarius, does DeAndre Ayton fit on the San Antonio Spurs? Yes. You have Jakob Poeltl, and that's about it. And the Spurs need more talented players around DeJounte Murray. They have a couple of other good complementary pieces. I'm excited about the projection for Josh Primo moving forward. Keep in mind, he was the youngest prospect taken last year at 18 years old. You just need more stars on that squad. And frankly, the Spurs have been such a mundane franchise for way too long. The NBA is better when they're a really good team. Also going to make a prediction. I think they're in on DeAndre Ayton. I also think that Popovich is going to retire at some point. And when that happens, Quinn Snyder is going to be the next coach. Next question is coming in from Angry Man. Do you think that Jason Tatum has been outplayed by Steph Curry in the NBA Finals? Could the Celtics trade him? Thoroughly outplayed by Steph Curry in the NBA Finals. And going into it, you're looking at the young star who is chasing his first ring and the bona fide superstar in Steph Curry chasing his fourth, who did not have an NBA Finals MVP. And Steph Curry has been the better player overall. And I think that Tatum has really struggled in a variety of ways. Andrew Wiggins has defended him really well. He's been bothered. His shooting percentage from 2 is lower than Steph Curry's shooting percentage from 3. He's been erratic and inconsistent. He just set the record for the most turnovers in NBA playoffs history. And Curry has been the better superstar player. I think that Tatum is a star on the precipice of becoming a superstar. And maybe the finals experience will be a good learning experience for Jason Tatum. Would I trade him away? Absolutely not. He's one of the best young players in the league, and I love the future of the Boston Celtics. What do you think? Is Tatum a top 10 player? Type Y for yes or type N for no. I think he's on the outside looking in, but that's more of a byproduct of the talent level at the NBA level being as deep as it's ever been. Subscribe to our main Chat Sports YouTube channel by hitting that red subscribe button down below because we'll be going live for the NBA Draft on June 23rd. Myself and Harrison Graham live for many hours, breaking down every single selection during both rounds. 58 picks this year because of the tampering charges against the Heat as well as the Chicago Bulls. That's why there's only 58 picks, but we'll still be here breaking it all down. That's why you subscribe. Perk. Can the Mavericks trade for Rudy Gobert? I think that the Dallas Mavericks need a big. I think they need a rim protector. I thought that was their glaring weakness throughout the NBA playoffs, and that is the biggest area of need outside of bringing back Jalen Brunson and trying to get that number 2 star. If I were to go after a big, I'm not going Rudy Gobert. I'm going after DeAndre Ayton. He's the better, more well-rounded player, more diversity to his game, better offensively, maybe just as good down the road defensively. I understand that Rudy Gobert has won a couple of Defensive Player of the Year awards, and he's a generational player, but I'm going Ayton all day over Rudy Gobert. The RC Planemaker, shout out to Maxfield. What's up with the Hawks? Who will they be trading for? They could trade away John Collins. They could trade away Bogdanovich. They could trade away Danilo Gallinari. I think they're going to make a lot of trades. As for who they could trade for, not ruling out Ben Simmons, not ruling out Tobias Harris, just a couple of trade assets and trades that could happen for the ATL. My holy king with this, how about KD for Ayton, Bridges, Cam Johnson, and a pick, Kyrie for Donovan Mitchell? Nets will still be a contender. I mean, that trade wouldn't necessarily work because it has to involve multiple teams, and I don't think the Nets are going to trade away Kevin Durant, but I do appreciate that question, my holy king. You are my king. Alec G, any chance that KD reunites with OKC in 2026? I don't think so. I mean, it's hard to predict the future. There's so much crazy movement that can happen in the NBA. KD going back to OKC in 2026, I mean, maybe. They get this selection right, whether it be Paolo, Banchero, Jabari, Smith, or Chet Holmgren. You have Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, love Josh Giddey, maybe Lou Dort is still on the team, and KD looks at that squad and he says, we can compete for an NBA championship. So I am going back after what may have been, at that time, a disastrous stint with the Brooklyn Nets. Crazier things have happened. I'm going to say no right now, though. DG Sports Talk. Where does Duncan Robinson end up at the end of free agency? He's not a free agent. He just signed that big deal with the Miami Heat. He would have to get traded somewhere. As for where he could get traded, if the Miami Heat want to package him and Tyler Hero for Donovan Mitchell, I think that could happen. So in that case, he would go to Utah. Other teams are going to be looking for shooting all throughout the offseason. And Duncan Robinson, since signing that big deal, his shooting numbers have gone downhill just a bit. I think he's a better player than that, though. I think there's a better player in there, and I think it's smart for Miami to trade him, especially if he's getting DNP'd a lot. Which is better? My final question for you during this mailbag. Is it the NBA Draft? Type D. Is it NBA free agency? Type FA. Our coverage for both is the best. And there's nothing better. That I know, but let me know what is better between the two offseason activities here in the NBA. Okay, we'll give you some shout-outs, and then after our show wraps up, we're going live exclusively on Rumble to talk about the Philadelphia 76ers. Nola versus the world, my holy king, Devian Weems, Chua Lore, all in the chat right now. 480 people watching live. Very good audience. We're going to have thousands and thousands of people joining us a week from tomorrow for the draft. That right there is a guarantee. More shout-outs in the comments. I see Hater Fazal, the Atlanta Analyst. Speaking of the Atlanta Analyst, we just talked about the Atlanta Hawks. Who do you want the Hawks to go after, Atlanta Analyst? Let me know. Cobra Kai, both. Bruh, I meant like end of the offseason. I know he's not a free agent. I know. That's why I said that. So at the end of free agency. Just making sure. Got to inform as many people as possible, DG Sports Talk. You're the man. Okay, so we're about to sign off here on YouTube, and then we're going to go live exclusively on Rumble. I will pepper that link into the chat right now. Just give me a sec. I'll sprinkle it into the chat. Here is the link to join us on Rumble. Join us over there because we are about to shut off our YouTube stream. I'll give you about 30 seconds to join us on the Rumble side of things as we're about to talk about the Philadelphia 76ers. So the link is in the chat. Check it out. Just put it in there. I plopped it in. I sprinkled it in. Join us on Rumble. Going to give you a few moments to tickle that link and then join us on the Rumble side of things. All right. Somebody's doing push-ups out there. Push-ups are easy. I did 20 before the show to get juiced. All right, we're going live exclusively on Rumble for all of you who tuned in. It was Mitch doing push-ups. Thanks for watching us here on YouTube. We're going to pivot over to Rumble exclusively to talk about all of the rumors hovering around the Philadelphia 76ers.